Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel True Crime and Trials, where I cover true crime and trials. And in case you didn't know, the Derek Chauvin trial started. I think most people are wanting to watch this. I'm not following it as closely as I do my other trials. This is a huge trial, and the rate that they're going at, this trial could go for longer than 4 weeks. I mean, they've said 4 weeks, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to watch it and take some notes, but not go into great detail, and just give you a quick overview of the day, just in case you don't want to watch the full thing, you don't have time, and you just want to catch up on what's going on. So before the trial even got started, about an hour before, the family and supporters and everything of George Floyd were outside, and they did a quick conference, said what they needed to say. It's something I felt they needed to do, and it was very heartbreaking. So the court starts by going through whatever motions they needed to do. The judge explains that how he wants this trial to go, and he informs the court that they have full jury, so the extra one that they picked just before, they could let that person go, because he was only chosen just in case they had anyone drop out at the last minute. So, opening statements. Obviously the prosecution, we know exactly what the prosecution's going to say, and to be honest, I don't even think they needed to say anything. They could have just shown that video. But they go over police officer use of force policy, and they show the picture of Derek Chauvin on George Floyd, which is just, it's horrible. And then they go through the timeline, right from when he was arrested until he was put in the back of the ambulance. And he points out how many times George said he couldn't breathe. No matter what he said, Chauvin just did not move. If anything, it looked like he kept putting more pressure on. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting. And, you know, the prosecution just does point out that the fact that this was an immense amount of excessive force used on George. He was on the floor, he was handcuffed. I mean, there were 3 police officers on this guy. Why Derek Chauvin needed to be on his neck, I will never ever know. And they say there was a duty of care that meant that Chauvin should have got up, and he stopped. He did actually stop anyone else from helping him. And the prosecution are using the phrase, he didn't let up and he didn't get up. And there in the video, I mean, I've seen a short clip of this video, and I didn't even have the sound on because I just couldn't bear to watch it. And watching this for the first time, I felt sick. I was absolutely horrified. And you can hear the bystanders, you know, there's one asking to check his pulse, that he couldn't breathe. It just blew my mind. And then they say that Chauvin's behaviour was not the Minneapolis Police Department's procedure, which we are going to find out about later on, because, you know, they have police department witnesses. And obviously we all know all this happened over a fake $20 bill, which he should have just been given a ticket for. So he explains the charges. Derek Chauvin faces second-degree murder, third-degree murder and manslaughter. And they have a lot of bystander witnesses, police officers, including the chief of police. And he explains that the state's case isn't about the police or the policing, it's about that one policeman, and obviously the ones that were there that, didn't do anything, and they could quite clearly see that people were getting upset, and I just don't get it. I do not get it. And he says that one of the bystanders is a minor, and she was in the video. She's got the bright green top on. And, he keeps pointing out the length of time that Floyd was on the floor, 9 minutes and 29 seconds, and it feels like an eternity. And hearing that poor man say over and over and over that he couldn't breathe, that he wanted his mum, that he said he would get up and get in the car, and not one moved. Now, being a juror on this case, I mean, when they were being interviewed to be a juror, they were asked, every single one of them was asked if they'd watched this video and if they could be impartial. And obviously the ones that are on the jury now said yes. But I couldn't help but think, the minute they watched that video again, how they must have felt, how they are going to be able to, I mean, I know they have to, but I just thought, seeing that again, I just don't know. I would not want to be a juror on this case. They say there was no issues with the heart, which the defence is going for. No injury to the heart that caused George Floyd's death. And he did not die from drugs. Another thing that the defence are going to be using. He did have drugs in his system, but due to the long-term use, I mean, he's obviously got a problem with drugs, but, because of his long-term use, he's built up a high tolerance for it. I mean, he's a big guy, so it probably does take a high amount to make any sort of effect on George. So they go through the usual things, and there were five police officers on scene because of a fake $20 bill. That's excessive before even anything else happens. 5. So obviously the defence are going with drug use, and the problem that he died because of his heart as well. And obviously, the defence have to throw the reasonable doubt thing in there. But at the moment, is there any reasonable doubt? No, but we know how things can change. I really, really, really cannot see how the defence are going to win this. I do believe Chauvin is going to jail. You cannot deny that Chauvin killed this man when there was no need for it. I mean, and they are making a major point of George Floyd's drug use. I mean, they're obviously going to try and make Floyd look bad, but no amount of drug use can excuse what Chauvin did. Nothing. And then the defence say that there was an angry mob. No, They were stood there. Nobody was attacking the police. No one was swearing that I could have heard, or angrily swearing at the police. Nobody was threatening. They were just trying to tell them that they needed to get off George. That's all they were doing. So trying to make out there was an angry mob is absolutely ridiculous. And they say the airway was not restricted. It might not have been fully restricted, but the fact that he was on his stomach on the floor with 3 policemen and 1 on his neck, how could he keep breathing in that manner? Right, so after that we move on to the witnesses, and like I said before, this trial is supposed to last 4 weeks, but the witness testimonies are taking a long time. And what do they have? Something like 400 witnesses. So how they're going to get through all them in 4 weeks, I really don't know at the rate they're going through them, because the witness testimonies are very, very long. So the first one is the 911 dispatcher, and she saw clips of what was going on at the scene. And the main reason why this witness was up is because she knew she was part of one of the people that had sent squad cars out there, and then she was watching on a TV screen in the centre she was in, and she just had a gut feeling that something wasn't right, and she phoned was it the sergeant or something to report that something wasn't right. Yeah, I mean, even she wasn't even there, and she knew something was going on. The next witness is David Williams, and he's the guy you can hear in the video telling the police to get off him, telling the police to check his pulse and things like that. I mean, this guy is a nice guy. He's trained in MMA, which, you know, segues into the fact that he knows about chokeholds and what they can do, and what he gives a good description of what Derek Chauvin was doing. You know, they go through the clip of the video again, and he can pinpoint what Derek was doing and why. And Officer Tao, the one that stood, he threatened while he was threatening people with mace, and David Williams says that Tao blamed it on drugs, and he said, this is what drugs do to you. And he said that Chauvin was moving in a way to basically get him into a kill choke position. Now at this point the defence objects, and it is struck, but based on David's testimony before this, I mean, he is describing every single thing Derek's doing, and I did expect the defence to want that struck, but he's right. You know, he says he kept moving in a way that would, you know, put more pressure on, and he's basically saying that Derek Chauvin knew exactly what he was doing. And he says that there was no one there that wanted to cause any harm or threaten any of the officers. So yeah, and at this point the feed goes down. Apparently the Wi-Fi in the media centre went down. So this testimony is going to carry on tomorrow. But yeah, it just, I mean, the defence, I don't envy the defence. I don't know how, I mean, we know what they're going to do, but I think they've got a huge battle which they cannot win. I mean, to be honest, the prosecution could just play that video continuously. It just explains everything. But obviously, I mean, coupled with the fact they're getting witnesses in to say this is not what they've been trained to do, that's going to be even more damning on top of seeing what he did. So, yeah, let's see what day 2 brings. So until then, bye for now.